They stood in my living room, my own children, wearing rehearsed smiles and holding legal documents, asserting that I was too old to manage my own life. Sign this power of attorney, Mom, or we will have no choice but to place you in a home. I gazed at their faces, these strangers I had raised, and uttered words that would change everything. You're right. I am too old. My name is Patricia Hartwell, and I am 73 years old. I would appreciate knowing where you are watching from today. Please share your state or country in the comments. What I am about to share is the absolute truth regarding what transpired when my children attempted to take everything I had worked my entire life to build. It began 6 months ago with the passing of my husband, Robert. He had been ill for 2 years, and I had cared for him daily. We had been married for 48 years. The morning after his funeral, before the flowers had even wilted, my daughter Jessica arrived at my door with her brother, Michael. They did not come to offer comfort. Instead, they brought paperwork. Mom, we need to discuss your future, Jessica said, settling into Robert's favorite chair as if she already owned it. She had a background in real estate and always wore sharp blazers that exuded importance. Michael nodded in agreement. As a financial advisor, he often discussed portfolios and investments I supposedly did not understand. Dad is gone now, and this house is too much for you, Michael added, producing a folder. We have been discussing this and believe it's time for some changes. I had just buried my husband and was grieving, yet they wanted to talk about changes. What kind of changes? I inquired, though a sense of dread was already settling in my stomach. Jessica leaned forward, employing the practiced sympathy I had observed her use with her real estate clients. We want to help you, Mom, but we need you to sign power of attorney over to us. That way, Michael and I can handle everything, the bills, the house, your medical decisions. You won't have to worry about anything. I examined the documents they had spread across my coffee table, legal jargon I could barely comprehend, with lines highlighted where I was to sign. I can manage my own affairs, I replied quietly. Can you, though? Michael's tone sharpened. Dad handled everything, the bills, the maintenance, all of it. When was the last time you even balanced a checkbook? I balanced checkbooks before you were born, I retorted. Jessica exchanged a glance with Michael, a look that suggested I was a problem to be resolved. Mom, we are trying to be patient here, but if you won't cooperate, we will have to consider other options. Memory care facilities, assisted living. We can have a doctor declare you incompetent if necessary. The threat lingered heavily in the air. Think about it, Jessica said, standing up. We will return next week. Make the right choice, Mom. We are doing this for your own good. They left me sitting there, surrounded by sympathy cards from the funeral, facing the unsettling reality that my own children were threatening to institutionalize me unless I relinquished control of my life. But they had made one critical mistake. They assumed that just because I was old, I was helpless. After they departed, I remained in that living room for hours. The house felt different now. Not a home, but a prison I was on the verge of losing. Robert and I had purchased this place in 1978. I had painted every room, planted every flower in the garden. We had raised Jessica and Michael here, funded their college education, and supported them through their first apartments and weddings. And now they wanted to take it all away. That night, I struggled to sleep, replaying Jessica's words. We can get a doctor to declare you incompetent if we need to. The threat was real. I had witnessed it happen to my friend Helen 2 years prior. Her son had her declared incompetent, seized power of attorney, sold her house, and placed her in a facility where she passed away within 8 months. She had been mentally sound, merely aging. In that moment, I realized something crucial. They believed I was weak. They thought that grief had rendered me vulnerable, that I would simply acquiesce and sign whatever they placed before me because I was too weary, too old, or too sorrowful to resist. They were mistaken. The following morning, I contacted my caregiver, Maria Santos. She had been assisting me 3 times a week since Robert became ill, helping with errands, providing companionship, ensuring I took my medications. At 42, she was kind and treated me like a person rather than a burden. When Robert died, she had held my hand and cried alongside me. She did not inquire about paperwork or assets. Instead, she asked if I was eating, sleeping, or needed anything. Maria, I said when she arrived, I need to confide in you, and I require your utmost confidentiality. She settled at my kitchen table, concern evident on her face. Mrs. Hartwell, what is troubling you? I recounted the entire episode with Jessica and Michael, their demands for power of attorney, the threats of placing me in a home. Maria's expression shifted from concern to anger. They cannot do that to you, she asserted. Yes, they can, I replied. If they are determined enough, they will find a way. But I have a plan, and I need your assistance. Over the next 3 hours, I outlined my intentions. Maria listened intently, her eyes widening as she grasped the magnitude of my plan. After a prolonged silence, she asked, Are you absolutely certain about this? Once you proceed, there is no turning back. They are your children. They ceased being my children the moment they threatened to institutionalize me, I replied, my voice steady. They are after my assets, not my well-being, and I refuse to allow them to prevail. Maria nodded slowly. Okay, I am on board. Whatever you need. That was when I began making phone calls. First to my lawyer, Martin Fletcher, a man I had known for 30 years who had managed Robert's will and estate planning. When I explained the situation, I could hear the disgust in his voice. Patricia, what you are describing is elder abuse, he stated. It is more common than one might think, and it is devastating. Let us discuss your options. Martin detailed that what Jessica and Michael were attempting was termed undue influence, utilizing threats and manipulation to coerce an elderly person into relinquishing their assets. Unfortunately, even if such actions were wrong, they were often effective. If they petition for guardianship and find the right doctor to evaluate you, they could succeed, he warned. I want to transfer the house to Maria, I asserted. There was a pause on the other end. Your caregiver? He inquired. Yes. I also wish to designate her as my medical proxy and beneficiary of my accounts. I want it executed legally and properly to prevent Jessica and Michael from contesting it. Patricia, I must ask you directly, is anyone pressuring you to do this? The only people pressuring me are my children, and I am doing this to stop them, I replied firmly. Maria has been more of a family member to me in the last 2 years than Jessica and Michael have been in the last 20. She has earned this. After a moment of contemplation, Martin replied, All right, I will draft the documents, but we must proceed cautiously. We will require witnesses to attest to your sound mind, documentation of your children's threats, and we must act swiftly before they take action. Can you come to my office tomorrow? I will be there. That evening, Maria and I collaborated on planning every detail. I retrieved my phone and activated the voice recording app. The next time Jessica and Michael visited, I would record everything. What if they don't say anything incriminating? Maria questioned. They will, I assured her. They believe they have already triumphed. People tend to become careless when they feel in control. Over the ensuing days, I gathered every necessary document: bank statements, property deeds, medical records, and letters from my doctor confirming my cognitive health. I even arranged for a complete neurological evaluation, paying cash to prevent Jessica and Michael from discovering it through insurance records. The results were excellent. No signs of dementia or cognitive decline. For a 73-year-old woman, your mental acuity is remarkable, the neurologist stated. Your memory, reasoning, and decision-making abilities are all well above average for your age group. I have it all in writing. 6 days after their initial visit, Jessica called. Mom, we are coming over Thursday evening. Have you considered what we discussed? I have, I replied, deliberately keeping my voice shaky and uncertain. I believe you are right. I am too old for all of this. I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. That's good, Mom. That's really good. We are just trying to help you. I know, sweetie. I know. When I hung up, Maria glanced at me. You are a better actress than I imagined. 50 years of motherhood teaches one how to play a role, I replied. Thursday arrived with perfect autumn weather. Sunny and crisp, the kind of day that inspires gratitude for life. I woke up early and proceeded through my morning routine. Coffee, the crossword puzzle, watering my plants. Everything felt normal, everything calm. Yet inside, my heart raced. At 10 a.m., I met with Martin at his office, with Maria accompanying me as a witness. The documents were prepared, deed transfer, medical proxy designation, power of attorney assignment, all in Maria's name. Martin had also drafted a living trust to protect my remaining assets. Once you sign these, the house will belong to Maria, he explained. Your children will not be able to touch it. The medical proxy means Maria will make all healthcare decisions should you become incapacitated. Are you absolutely certain? I picked up the pen. I had never been more certain of anything in my life. I signed. Maria signed. The witnesses signed. Martin notarized everything. Just like that, 46 years of equity in my home had transferred to a woman I had known for 2 years instead of the children I had raised. There is one more thing, I said, retrieving my phone. I need copies of these sent to Jessica and Michael tomorrow morning. Not today. Tomorrow. I want one more night in my house before they find out. Martin nodded. I will have my secretary email them first thing at 9 a.m. Perfect. They are scheduled to come over at 6 tonight. What are your plans? Patricia, Martin inquired, though he likely already knew. I am planning to have one last dinner with my children, I stated. Then I will change every lock in my house. We stopped by the hardware store on the way home, where I purchased new locks for every door, front, back, side entrance, and even the garage. Heavy-duty deadbolts, the kind that make a statement. The young man at the counter appeared perplexed when this elderly woman requested help loading 5-door lock sets into her cart. Home security project, I explained with a smile. Upon returning home, I called a locksmith. I need an emergency lock change today. Every exterior door. Can you come at 8 tonight? That's rather late, ma'am, he replied. I will pay double your standard rate. Cash. I will be there at 8 sharp. Everything was falling into place. At 4 p.m., my phone rang. Mom, Jessica said. Michael and I were thinking, why don't we take you out to dinner tonight? There's a new steakhouse downtown. Our treat. My grip tightened on the phone. They were planning a celebration, so convinced I would sign everything over that they were already arranging their victory dinner. That sounds lovely, dear, I replied. What time? We will pick you up at 6. Actually, why don't I meet you there? I need to run some errands first. 7. Are you sure you can drive, Mom? I have been driving since before you were born, Jessica. I will be fine. After we hung up, I looked at Maria. They are taking me to dinner to celebrate their theft of my life. While we are there, they will likely bring up the power of attorney again, expecting me to sign it over dessert. What are you going to do? Maria asked. I will let them believe they have won, I replied. Then I will return home to my newly secured house. At 6:30, I entered my car, a 12-year-old Honda that Robert and I had purchased together. Nothing fancy, but reliable. I drove to the steakhouse, a place with white tablecloths and prices that made my practical heart ache. Jessica and Michael were already seated at a corner table, martinis in front of them. Mom, Jessica exclaimed, standing to embrace me, all warmth and affection now that she thought she had triumphed. You look lovely. I had dressed thoughtfully in a simple blue dress, pearl earrings, and sensible shoes, the picture of a grandmother ready to cooperate. Michael pulled out my chair. We already ordered you a glass of wine, Chardonnay, your favorite. We began with small talk. Jessica discussed her latest real estate deals while Michael talked about the stock market. I smiled and nodded, playing the role of the proud mother. The waitress took our orders, and I selected the cheapest item on the menu. Old habits die hard. However, Jessica insisted I order the ribeye. Our treat, remember, she said. Tonight is a celebration. What are we celebrating? I inquired innocently. Jessica and Michael exchanged a knowing look. Well, Mom, Michael began, pulling out that same manila folder from his briefcase. We are celebrating you making a smart decision. You've thought about the power of attorney, right? I have, I replied quietly. Jessica leaned forward eagerly. I took a sip of wine, letting the moment linger. You were correct. I am too old to manage everything myself. The house is too large. The bills are too complex. I no longer know what I am doing. The relief on their faces was nearly comical. Jessica reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Oh, Mom, I am so glad you're being reasonable about this. We were so worried you would be stubborn. No, I said. I am not stubborn. I am simply tired. Michael slid the documents across the table and extended a pen. These are the power of attorney papers. If you sign them tonight, we can start handling everything tomorrow. We will ensure all the bills are paid. We will list the house. Listed? I interrupted. Well, yes, Jessica replied. The housing market is excellent right now. We can probably get $450,000 for your place, maybe more. We will find you a nice apartment, or perhaps assisted living would be better. Either way, you won't have to worry about anything. 450,000. They had already appraised my house and devised plans for how to spend my life's investments. I see, I said. So, you will sign? Michael pushed the papers closer and held out a pen. I scrutinized the documents, then looked at my children, people who had devoted more time to calculating my net worth than inquiring about my grief. The waitress brought our salads, and we ate while they discussed their plans for me. Plans that involved liquidating everything Robert and I had built and parceling it out among themselves. If you are watching this and have ever felt betrayed by those who were supposed to love you, I encourage you to subscribe, for what happened next is something you will not want to miss. I savored my ribeye slowly, allowing them to order dessert. I smiled and nodded as they detailed their vision for my future, a future that excluded my home, my independence, and my dignity. At 9:15, dinner finally concluded. Jessica insisted on paying, feeling magnanimous now that she believed she had won. Michael escorted me to my car and even offered to drive me home. I am fine, dear, I said. It is only a 10-minute drive. Did you bring the papers? Jessica called out, eager for me to sign. I left them at home, I replied. Why don't you both come by tomorrow afternoon? I will sign everything then. I just want one more night to adjust to the idea. They exchanged another glance but nodded. Tomorrow at 2, Michael confirmed. Perfect. I drove home, my hands steady on the wheel, my mind clear. Everything was now in motion. At 8:05, precisely as promised, the locksmith arrived. His name was Dave, a grandfather himself, retired from the fire department, now doing locksmith work to keep busy. All the exterior doors? He confirmed. Every single one, I affirmed. He began his work, and I observed as he removed the old locks, the ones Jessica and Michael had keys to, the locks they had walked through countless times as children. Dave efficiently installed the new deadbolts, tested each one, and handed me a set of shiny new keys. These are good locks, Mrs. Hartwell, he said. Heavy duty. No one will get through these without your permission. That is precisely what I need, I replied. I paid him in cash, watched him drive away, then walked through my house, locking and unlocking each door, relishing the solid click of the new mechanisms. My house was protected. It was mine. I called Maria. It is done. How do you feel? She asked. Like I can breathe again. That night, I slept better than I had since Robert's passing. No nightmares about nursing homes or competency hearings, no anxiety about losing everything. Just peace. Friday morning arrived bright and clear. At 9 a.m., precisely as planned, Martin's secretary sent the documents to Jessica and Michael's email addresses. Copies of the deed transfer, medical proxy designation, and everything else. I poured myself a cup of coffee and waited. The first call came at 9:17. Jessica, I thought, but did not answer. 9:23, Michael's voicemail. 9:31, Jessica again, then Michael, then both of them, back and forth. 15 calls in 30 minutes. Later, I listened to their voicemails. The progression was fascinating. Mom, we received some documents that do not make sense. Can you call us? Then anger. What the hell did you do? Then panic. Mom, please pick up. We need to discuss this. This isn't legal. You cannot do this. But I could, and I had. At 11 a.m., my doorbell rang, followed by pounding and repeated ringing. I peered through the peephole to see Jessica and Michael, both red-faced and furious. Mom, open this door, Jessica shouted. We know you are in there, Michael added. We need to talk about this. I remained calm on the other side of my new locks. We can talk through the door, I said. Open the door, Jessica demanded. No, this is my house, and I decide who enters. Your house? Michael's voice rose an octave. According to these papers, it is Maria's house now. What were you thinking? I was thinking that you threatened to place me in a home if I did not grant you power of attorney, I responded clearly. I was thinking that you planned to sell my house and liquidate my assets, so I made alternative arrangements. There was a moment of stunned silence on the other side of the door. Then Jessica regained her composure. Mom, you do not understand what you have done. That woman is taking advantage of you. This is elder abuse. I almost laughed. The woman who threatened to have me declared incompetent was accusing someone else of elder abuse. That is rich, Jessica. We never threatened you, Michael said, though his voice lacked conviction. Actually, you did. I have it recorded. Every word from your first visit. We can get a doctor to declare you incompetent if we need to. Ring any bells? Another silence ensued, this one longer. You recorded us? Jessica's voice rose in pitch. I protected myself from individuals attempting to steal my life, I corrected. And before you start threatening legal action, know that I have a neurological evaluation from this week demonstrating perfect cognitive function. I have medical records. I have witnesses to your threats. I have everything documented. Martin Fletcher possesses copies of everything. Fletcher? Michael said. That bastard helped you do this. That lawyer helped me protect myself from my own children, I replied. Now I will explain how this will work. You will leave my property immediately. You will not harass Maria. You will not contest anything in court, for you will lose and appear as the greedy children you are. Perhaps someday, if you learn to treat me like a human being rather than a bank account, we can discuss rebuilding our relationship. You are insane, Jessica shouted. We are hiring a lawyer. Get 10 lawyers. Get 100. It will not change anything. The house is transferred. The medical proxy is assigned. Everything is legal, proper, and documented. You lost, Jessica. Not because I am incompetent, but because I am not. I heard Michael whisper something to Jessica in a low voice. Then Jessica attempted a different tactic. Mom, please, we can fix this. We were just trying to help. You know we love you. If this is what your love looks like, I want none of it, I stated. Goodbye, Jessica. Goodbye, Michael. I walked away from the door. They continued to ring the bell, pound, and shout for another 20 minutes before finally falling silent. I looked out the window and watched them enter Jessica's Mercedes and drive away. My phone rang incessantly for the next 3 hours. I blocked their numbers. Then they began calling from various other phones, likely their spouses or friends, but I did not answer any of them. By evening, I received a text from an unknown number. This is not over. We are getting our inheritance back. I forwarded it to Martin. His response was swift. That text is evidence of their true motivation. Save everything. Do not respond. Maria visited that evening. We sat in my kitchen, sipping tea as I recounted everything that had transpired. She appeared worried. Mrs. Hartwell, are you certain about all of this? They are your children. Perhaps there is a way to... To what? I interrupted gently. To give them another chance to threaten me? To pretend they care when they only care about money? Maria, they appraised my house. They planned where to place me. They intended to erase my entire life and label it love. She nodded slowly. What happens now? Now we wait and see what they do next. What they did next was hire a lawyer, not just any lawyer, but Harrison Blackwell, known in town for aggressive litigation. On Monday morning, I received a certified letter, notice of intent to contest deed transfer and initiate guardianship proceedings. I immediately called Martin. They are claiming undue influence, mental incapacity, and fraud, he read from his copy of the letter. Can they win? I asked. Not with the evidence we have, but they can make it expensive and ugly. Blackwell's strategy is likely to prolong this until you are too exhausted to fight, then offer a settlement. I am not settling. Good, because we are going to destroy them. The guardianship hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Jessica and Michael hired a psychiatrist, Dr. Raymond Walsh, known for finding incompetence where none existed, if the price was right. He had built a career rubber-stamping questionable guardianship petitions. But Martin had been preparing for this. He subpoenaed all their financial records, emails, and text messages. What we discovered was damning. An email from Jessica to Michael dated 3 weeks before Robert's death. Dad's not going to make it much longer. We need a plan for Mom's assets. She will be too emotional to think straight. A text from Michael to Jessica dated 1 week after the funeral. Mom's vulnerable right now. If we move quickly, we can secure POA before she realizes what she is doing. An email from Jessica to a real estate colleague dated 2 days before their first visit to my house. I will have a property listing coming soon, probably in the 450K range. Estate situation, elderly owner being moved to assisted living. They had been planning this before they ever approached me for signatures. Martin scheduled depositions. Jessica went first. Under oath, facing Martin's questions and her own written words, she began to crumble. Isn't it true, Miss Hartwell, that you told your mother you would have her declared incompetent if she did not sign power of attorney over to you? That is not. We were just trying to help her. Help her or help yourself. You had already priced her house before even discussing it with her, hadn't you? I was just researching options. Options for whom? Your mother or your bank account? Michael's deposition was even worse. As a financial advisor, he should have known better than to put anything in writing. But there it was. Detailed spreadsheets showing how he and Jessica would divide my assets. Emails to his wife celebrating how easy I would be to manipulate. Dr. Walsh never even examined me. Once Martin presented the evidence of Jessica and Michael's premeditation and planning, once he revealed their communications proving they knew I was competent but vulnerable, the entire case collapsed. Blackwell contacted Martin 2 days before the hearing. My clients wished to withdraw their petition. Not good enough, Martin replied. Your clients attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable senior. They will withdraw their petition, sign a statement acknowledging Mrs. Hartwell's competence, and agree to a no-contact order, or we will go to trial, and I will ensure every detail of their scheme is read into public record. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Blackwell said, I will speak with them. The final hearing was anticlimactic. Jessica and Michael sat in the courtroom, somehow looking smaller, diminished. They had attempted to dress respectably, Michael in a suit, Jessica in one of her sharp blazers, but they could not meet my gaze. Their lawyers stood and read the statement. The petitioners withdraw all claims regarding Patricia Hartwell's mental capacity and deed transfer. They acknowledge that Mrs. Dreher Hartwell is of sound mind and capable of managing her own affairs. They agree to a 6-month no-contact order and wish to apologize for any distress caused. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Carolyn Morrison, regarded Jessica and Michael with barely concealed disdain. Let me be clear, she stated, this court takes elder abuse seriously. What you attempted to do to your mother, exploiting her grief, threatening her with institutionalization, planning to liquidate her assets, is unconscionable. You should be grateful she is not pursuing criminal charges. Your Honor, Jessica began. I am not finished, Judge Morrison interrupted. I have reviewed all the evidence, the emails, the texts, the timeline of your actions. You did not attempt to help your mother. You tried to rob her. The only reason you are leaving here without a criminal investigation is that your mother is more merciful than you deserve. She signed the order. The 6-month no-contact provision was now legally binding. Jessica and Michael stood. Their lawyer gathered his papers, and they exited without a word. I watched them depart. These children I had raised, these strangers I no longer recognized. Outside the courthouse, Maria awaited me. How did it go? She asked. It is over, I replied. They cannot touch me now. We went to lunch at a small diner I cherished, the kind of place with good coffee and homemade pie. I ordered the meatloaf special, while Maria opted for a chef salad. We sat in a sunlit booth, avoiding any discussion of Jessica or Michael or lawyers or threats. What will you do now? Maria inquired. I will live, I replied simply. I will live in my house. Well, your house, Maria corrected. I am merely the person holding the deed. It is still yours, Mrs. Hartwell. It will always be yours. You have earned it, I said. When I pass, it will be yours free and clear, no strings attached. You treated me like family when my actual family treated me like a burden. That is worth more than any house. The 6 months passed. The no-contact order expired. I never heard from Jessica or Michael again. No calls, no letters, no attempts at reconciliation. Some might find that sad. I found it liberating. I learned something essential through all of this. Family is not defined by blood, but by those who show up when life becomes difficult. And Maria showed up. Every Tuesday and Thursday, like clockwork, she arrived. We would have coffee, tend to the garden, and watch old movies. She never treated me like a patient or a job. She treated me like a friend. Her daughter, Sophia, began joining us, a sweet 16-year-old girl who would sit at my kitchen table doing her homework while Maria and I conversed. She reminded me of Jessica at that age, before money and ambition had corrupted everything good in her. "Mrs. Hartwell, can you assist me with this history essay?" Sophia asked one afternoon. "Call me Patricia," I replied. "And what is it about?" "The women's suffrage movement." I spent an hour sharing stories about my grandmother, who had marched for the right to vote and had told me tales about fighting for basic human dignity. Sophia listened intently, taking notes and asking questions. When Jessica was her age, she had been too preoccupied with her phone to listen to family stories. Life became simpler, quieter, and better. I did take that trip to Maine. Maria and Sophia accompanied me. We drove up the coast, stayed in quaint bed and breakfasts, savored lobster rolls, and watched the waves. I captured photographs of everything, not for social media or to prove anything to anyone, but simply to remember and to encapsulate moments of genuine joy. On the final night of the trip, we sat on the beach watching the sunset. Maria turned to me and said, "Thank you for trusting me, not just with the house, but with everything." "You earned that trust every single day," I replied. "Some individuals are born into families. Others build them. We built ours." A year after the courthouse hearing, I received a letter, not from Jessica or Michael, as I had not heard from them since, but from Jessica's daughter, my granddaughter, Emma. She was now 23, a college graduate, living independently. "Dear Grandma," it read, "I know Mom and Uncle Michael said terrible things about you. I know there was a legal battle, but I have been reflecting on what transpired. I asked to see the court documents. Mom did not want me to, which only fueled my determination to uncover the truth. I read everything, the emails, the texts, the depositions. I am so sorry for what they tried to do to you. I apologize for not reaching out sooner. Would you be willing to have coffee with me? I would like to hear your side of the story. Love, Emma." I called her the same day. We met at that little diner I cherished. She cried upon seeing me, apologized for her mother, and told me she had confronted Jessica about everything. They were no longer speaking. "I do not want you to jeopardize your relationship with your mother because of me," I said. "Grandma, she damaged that relationship herself when she attempted to steal from you," Emma replied. "I cannot respect someone who would do that to their own mother." We have had coffee every month since. Sometimes Sophia joins us, two young women from different families but with the same values. They have become friends. It is not the family I was born into, but it is the family I built. And it is more than enough. I am 74 now. My house, Maria's house, is precisely as I want it. Kindly subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. With love and respect.